Very warm welcome to this presentation on why PIM isn't enough. This presentation has been formatted from a presentation given on the 23rd of January 2019 at the Webwinkel Vakdagen, which is one of the leading e-commerce events in the Netherlands. My name is Pieter van Herpen. I am the CEO and founder of a company called Syndy. Syndy is the online platform for brands to streamline product content delivery to online retailers. We combine unique product information management and digital asset management capabilities to help thousands of brands across the world list their products across retailer stores like Amazon, Walmart, or bol.com here in the Netherlands. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why PIM isn't enough. This presentation was initially given at the Webwinkel Vakdagen, as mentioned, the leading e-commerce event in the Netherlands. And when I gave the presentation, everyone within the audience agreed that e-commerce was here to stay and that online shopping had changed retail forever. And clearly, I couldn't agree more. By 2020, global online retail sales will surpass 4 trillion. Consumers, which include yourself and me, simply favor convenience over anything else. And because of that, online shopping wins because it's just so easy. And then imagine online shopping is only just getting started. So we have some very exciting times ahead. Now, going back a little, it wasn't too long ago that we used to buy all our products in stores, physical brick and mortar stores. And still today, the vast majority of purchases occur here. And in stores like this grocery store, it's all about the physical product. Products in store can be touched, they can be smelled, they can sometimes be tasted. Consumers can pick them up and they can easily access information on the back of the pack, information about claims, promotional information, ingredients, manufacturer information, and all that valuable information that as a consumer you want before you make a purchasing decision. Packaging in store is probably the most essential part of the product marketing mix. But online, there is no physical product. Online, the same products are being sold, from fashion to grocery, but here it's all about the content. We're no longer dealing with physical items. We're dealing with product information, content, which is what constitutes a product online. Just look at this example of a yogurt that's sold online. Information that's used to be available through packaging is now available on a product page to help consumers make informed decisions. And should a consumer buy this product, the action is nothing more than adding content to your shopping basket. So it's a total different game. It's a data game. Content is what gets traded, not products. In online commerce, physical products are actually merely an afterthought. Now, in retail, the role of content or the role of product information has changed completely. In the early days when the first stores appeared, the first stores and first supermarkets, retailers didn't really work with product information. They didn't have to do anything with content. They simply sold products in their stores and they used, probably a simple book to tally the orders. Now, product information was, stored in the heads of the retailer, who would advise consumers what to buy. And however, as retail matured, shop owners built supermarkets and hypermarkets. These new business models, which focused a lot more on mass market distribution, required robust access to certain types of information to properly plan and manage product assortments. Now, access to accurate logistical information became one of the most important aspects of business at that time. However, then when retailers started selling products online, like Amazon in 1994, this marked a completely new era for content, as retailers now all of a sudden needed access to public-facing information to help consumers make these informed decisions on their websites and later on their mobile devices. So the role of content totally changed as retail matured and moved from one channel to another, following convenience. Now, different technologies were created over time to support these different content needs at the retailer and brand level. The master data management systems, also known as MDMs on your far left, they were introduced to support the creation of assortments and really to help companies manage the primary data sets of their product assortments. And next, we had the enterprise resource planning systems, also known as ERPs. They were being developed to help companies manage their core business processes and their corresponding content needs. This was followed by the introduction of product information management systems, which this presentation is all about. These things are also known as PIMs. And PIMs very much brought together all this internally available content stored in your MDM, in your ERP, and maybe in some other suites, and allowed much more the marketing and the sales and the consumer / customer oriented teams to enrich content for sales purposes. And ideally, companies that work with content and with data will try to set up end-to-end content flows. Means that content moves from one system to another and can only be edited in one system. Now, this is just to give you an idea of the different use cases where different content solutions are required. Let's take a closer look at PIM right now, one of the leading tools used by e-commerce teams to store, manage, and distribute product content. So theoretically speaking, PIM is the central place where all product content comes together. Data can be imported, enriched, searched, exported to any channel, including e-commerce channels. That's the theory. Examples of popular PIM systems include Informatica, Stibo Systems, Riversand, SAP Hybris, and IBM InfoSphere. These are all examples of common global PIM setups used by retailers and brands. So, given all this, why am I saying that PIM isn't enough? Why isn't PIM enough for teams to succeed in e-commerce? Well, to exemplify this, let's look at two cases. First, we have chosen a random image of a product by Nike, one of my favorite brands. And this beautiful shoe is sold on Nike.com, a channel that Nike owns, so their own store. And as you can see, there are plenty of images. There's content used of very high quality. There's extensive attributes being mentioned, and the general look and feel is very much in line with Nike's internal guidelines. Now, the next example is a third-party retailer called Sneak Avenue. These guys are selling the same product, but this time the experience is slightly different. There's a lack of images, lack of content. The retailer even indicates that content is missing. Surely this whole look and feel isn't in line with Nike's guidelines, and surely consumers would prefer the Nike store experience and would describe this experience probably as less appealing. Now, funny enough, at Syndy, we see that this same trend, is apparent across most product categories. So not just for shoes, but most product categories across most countries. So on a global scale, we are seeing that brand stores, because they're controlled by their brand, have better and more up-to-date product information than retailer stores. So generally, the online product experience is greater on brand stores than retailer stores. Now, looking back at the previous example of Nike, you could argue that theoretically a standard product information management setup would look something like this. Nike will feed its PIM with content from existing data sources, will use the PIM to enrich, search, and generally manage content, and last, content will then be made available to different channels, whereby the example features Nike's web shop as well as the retailer Sneak Avenue. Now, as we've seen before, despite selling the same product, these two stores make use of very different content, which results in a very different online shopping experience. Clearly, Nike would want to have the same online shopping experience for its products across all channels, and that's theoretically what every PIM promises its clients. They would want to use the same optimized content because clearly this would drive the highest conversion. So why isn't this happening? That is a fundamental question that I want to look at. And well, at this stage, I do have to let you in on a little secret that we've accumulated over the last years as we've been building and developing Syndy, and we've been working with some of the biggest brands across the world. Because we have learned that PIM systems systematically struggle to create product content exports or outputs, or however you want to call it, based on third-party taxonomies. What this means is that a PIM system, they're great at pushing content out based on the data model of its client. So Nike can easily push content in line with its own data model to, for example, its own store. Easy. PIMs are great for that. However, things get very tricky when PIMs need to be configured to export content based on different data models, like that one of retailer Sneak Avenue. The key reason for this is that PIMs store content based on one data model, that of the client. PIMs cannot store multiple sets of content based on different data models. They're just not made to do so. A flexible architecture would be needed to do this, like a multi-sided platform. But PIMs are generally built in support of one client. So they're closed solutions that we refer to as single tenant structures. And then the problem in e-commerce, and this is a problem we see across the globe, across every market, every product category, it's the same problem for brands with e-commerce, is that retailers need product content. And they typically ask brands to deliver such content in their formats that follow the taxonomy of the retailer. So, as mentioned, this is exactly where PIMs struggle. PIMs struggle to create these third-party outputs for retailers at speed, at scale, and at low cost. So in the case of Nike, their PIM will struggle to easily create the right content outputs for retailer Sneak Avenue. So how do brands send content to retailers? Well, basically, we see brands resort to three different options. Either they join a third-party content syndication network to deliver their content, which is basically a network that has different connections to different retailers, which they can push standard content to any retailer. Or brands invest in the development of a custom tool that usually sits on top of their PIM system, which is made to convert content into third-party retailer taxonomies. Or last, they turn to manually filling in templates of retailers. And these are the three options available. And each option has clear advantages and disadvantages, where the CSNs are simple to get started with, but they don't have coverage to all retailers and provide brands with limited know-how on content delivery. So it's very much this system that you work with, but you don't know how it works, and you have very limited control over it. Developing a custom tool, yes, some brands do it, but clearly because you have total control over the development, but it has proven to be very complex due to the vast mapping requirements required to map content to retailer taxonomies, which also frequently change. For example, on Amazon can have different types of templates on a yearly basis. And then manual data entry, it's very easy. You can fill in these templates, but it takes a lot of time, and it usually results in poor data quality because it's done manually. These are the options out there, and what we've seen over the last 8 years is that the majority of brands, across the globe, use a combination of content syndication networks and manual data entry. The creation of a custom tool, it's barely done, just given the high cost and the complexity involved. But the use of CSNs and manual data entry still results in clear disadvantages, like missed retailers, slow time to market, poor data quality. So clearly, this can still be improved. It's a suboptimal solution, and that's a nice bridge to the reason why we built Syndy, the global e-commerce product content delivery platform for brands. Through one unified platform experience, we empower brands to quickly create any retailer-specific template and to deliver these to any retailer across the globe at speed, scale, and at very low cost. Why are we able to do this? Because Syndy is built through a multi-tenant platform technology that supports the content based on multiple different data models of the brand and of the retailer. And within Syndy, we have developed unique content mapping capabilities that allow us to convert content from any brand to any retailer very quickly. With Syndy, brands can not only deliver the right data to retailers, but they can also store and manage content like any other PIM system can. Because of Syndy's platform structure, retailers and third parties, third-party developers, can also create accounts and can establish real-time content connections with brands through private APIs. Ultimately, Syndy enables a new form of collaboration between retailers and brands with the ultimate goal to help them to easily exchange product content. The way Syndy works is simple. Brands import their product and content once into Syndy and then connect each product to the different retailers that sell those products online. Next, brands go to the export page where they can create the right export per retailer. It's a simple process and will automatically create the right template for each retailer, like this example of Amazon.com. Retailers connect to Syndy's by API will automatically get content and all updates. So that's it. Besides a PIM setup, brands should consider ways to push content to third-party retailers. For that, we've built Syndy to empower brands to send content and the right content to any retailer and to avoid the need of manually filling in data. So if you're curious how Syndy can help you, do reach out to us and we'll have an expert run you through the options and showcase you how Syndy could work for you. Thank you so much. Please reach out for any questions and we'll be in touch soon, hopefully.